Hello everybody, my name is Peter Deneke and welcome to my channel where I focus on faith and psychology and even philosophy and some facts. Okay, so a lot of in life we experience a lot of things like people that have narcissistic personalities. So this morning I was watching a YouTube video by a psychologist regarding religion and narcissistic personalities. And I've really found this to be true. I've been to churches where the leader has some narcissistic tendencies. And even you see this on television, on TBN and different programs. And there seems to be the idea that narcissistic people are attracted to the clergy. This is what the psychologist said. And I've noticed that. I've seen people where they high on the pedestal and it's almost like people are worshiping them and they feeding off that energy. If they have a narcissistic personality, they like to be in control. They like all the power. They grandiose a sense of self. So this is one of the criteria for somebody that's narcissistic is a sense of entitlement, a sense of control, a grandiose sense of self. And if you see the way some preachers act and the way they dress and the titles, they like the title of bishop and apostle. So that's a real red flag. I'm not saying all preachers or all teachers or pastors are narcissistic, but look out for some red flags. And if you are in a church where the leader is narcissistic, it can lead to abuse. So narcissistic abuse is even in the churches today. So I was part of a church where I saw the leader was narcissistic. And after a while, I saw that he used his power to get money from people. And he used the scriptures, he used doctrine to persuade people to give the church money. I'll go into that in another video, but for this video, I'll just want to focus on the narcissistic personality or the narc that is in the church, hiding in the church, not only in families, but in churches. When I say hiding, they don't portray themselves or they say that they're narcissistic, but there is red flags that you can see in people that have these types of personalities, especially in cults. Cult leaders are usually narcissistic or they're sociopaths, not so much psychopaths, unless like the Jonestown, where I'm not sure of the leader's name, but where the people drank the Kool-Aid. He was a sociopath or psychopath with narcissistic personality disorder. So some of the things thoughts I just want to read to you. Narcs use religion to cover up their shame. It's like a mask. So they pretend to be all holy and all perfect and self-righteous, but what they're really doing is hiding their shame. So a person with a narcissistic personality, they're using religion, or they can use religion as a way to hide their shame, to make themselves look so godlike and so perfect. But in fact, they actually want to be worshipped. That's what attracted them to that position. We find CEOs, leaders, presidents with narcissistic personalities, and it's not such a bad thing. But when it gets to a point of abuse, then you got to be careful. So things to look out for. First, let's say they are attracted to the clergy because of the power it brings. Look at the Catholic Church. Look at the way they dress. Look where the Pope is dressed. The hats, the rings that they wear. And they use false doctrine to get money. So the Catholic Church in the Dark Ages, they used false doctrine definitely to get money. And it's happening today in the churches. Narcissistic, there's something called a messianic narcissist. And I've actually seen some pictures and images of celebrities. They say Kanye West. He could have some narcissistic type traits. I'm starting to see it. There's some red flags, and even though I like what he's doing with his worship sessions, there is some concerns and some red flags there. Because previously he used to say he was Yeshua, or he had a Yeshu, he had a name that sounded messianic, and he almost like he wanted to be worshipped. So that tendency, that red flag is still definitely there. I can see it. Okay, messianic narcissists believe they are godlike or want to be worshipped and respected. The red flags to look out for, or you can see it in their titles, their clothing. They've got like elite style, elite status. They think they're better than others, basically like a pride, a form of pride. And we know who is the person, or the angel of light, he calls himself, or the devil himself. He fell because of pride. I would say Satan is a narcissist. He was kicked out of heaven and abandoned. So the roots of narcissism, according to psychology, is a root of abandonment. It could be emotional abandonment, physical abandonment, or just basically neglect from an early age. So when you see somebody with a narcissistic personality, you kind of have sympathy for them, because if you know what I know, that as a counselor or psychologist, you know that they had some type of abandonment experience when they were younger, and they developed a false sense of self. And there's a deep sense, like they call it a narcissistic wound, and there's a sense of shame. So the higher the narcissism, the higher the level of shame. So people carry a shame around, a feeling that they're worthless or that there's something wrong with them. And they use religion, clergy power, religious power to cover up that shame. I'm not saying all leaders or all pastors do that, but you can see it in some leaders. Okay, what are the criteria as according to the DSM-5 for a narcissistic personality? I'll mention some of them. One is no empathy, and sometimes they can show empathy, but deep down they have no empathy for people. They will abuse people and use them and get their supply because they're emotionally empty. They want you to make them feel better, to improve, to boost their self-esteem by saying, "Oh, how wonderful, Pastor. Oh, you preach so well. You did a good job." So we do that, and they applaud. We applaud the pastor. Okay. So they get supply from that. They say, "Oh, I'm so good." Okay. Another point is grandiose sense of self. Grandiose. Like they're just so grand, so perfect, so godlike. And a lot of false teaching is coming to the church as well to support grandiosity of self. Okay. Another sign is a big one, red flag, is the pastor or teacher or apostle, bishop will get angry. Will get angry quickly. They'll go into a rage. If you point out their error or their mistake, their doctrinal error or mistake, they'll go into absolute rage. If you attack their teaching or their false doctrine, and they operate with the spirit of Jezebel, I find that narcissistic personalities and Jezebel seem to work together. As I mentioned, Kanye West. I'm not saying it's got a Jezebel spirit, but I'm definitely seeing some narcissistic traits there. So time will tell. I know there's been mention that he has bipolar, so I'm not 100% sure of that. But the grandiose sense of self, I can definitely see that. And some of his lyrics, he talks about people judging him or criticizing him. And that's the thing that narcissistic people don't like. They don't like to be criticized or picked on. Most of us, if somebody criticizes us, we'll argue, we might become defensive and say, okay, why do you say that? Why? I disagree with you. What? Or if we are wrong, we'll say, okay, yeah, okay, I understand what you're saying. We won't go into an absolute rage and bedenza and attack and swear and just craziness. I don't know if you've seen that, experienced that with people. Narcs are also attracted to the prophetic ministry as they want to be seen as super spiritual. I've also seen some prophets that got narcissistic personalities. Okay, so if they're getting to a point of abuse, then it's a red flag. Run away from that place. So thanks for listening. This has been my first video. Hope you enjoyed it. Put a comment below. Like my video, share it if you want. Next time, I think I'm going to talk about money in the church and how people twist scriptures, especially with the tithing. And there's a lot of false doctrine about Melchizedek. People use the theology incorrectly, scripture out of proportion. They twist the meaning to get money out of people. So that's the abuse that I've seen. And I was in this type of church, and it feels like there's just something wrong. You don't know what it is, but as you start to dig into their beliefs start coming out. And it's possibly, if you see these red flags, you're in a narcissistic church, or you have a leader that's narcissistic, and they are there and you there for their benefit. You're just getting abused. They're taking your money, and under the guise of religion and church, that, oh, you're building God's kingdom, are you giving to God, you're giving to Jesus. But Jesus doesn't need our money. He's in heaven. So that's another false doctrine. But be careful of these people. So thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this video. Bye-bye.